Welcome. I'm Randy Osborne. You're listening to the Bible Science for Kids podcast from a uniquely young earth, biblical creationist perspective. This is Cycle 2, Lesson number 22, Light. But before we start today's lesson, let's do a quick review of our last lesson. Do you remember what is the third law of thermodynamics? Answer: the third law of thermodynamics explains that it is impossible to reach the state of absolute zero temperature. Remember, absolute zero means zero motion of atoms and molecules. No wiggling, no jiggling, no vibrating, no rotating. On what temperature scale is the number zero really absolute zero? It was not the Fahrenheit scale. It was not the Celsius scale, but it starts with a letter K. That's right, Kelvin, the Kelvin temperature scale, named for Lord Kelvin. Good job. Who's proud of you? I am. We are in Cycle 2, Lesson number 22, Light. Light is one of the most amazing things in God's creation. From the beginning of time, people have been fascinated by light. In ancient times, people believed light came from our eyes, like as if they were flashlights. But over hundreds of years, scientists like Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein helped us to understand light better. Today, we know that light is electromagnetic energy that travels very fast, about 186,000 miles in 1 second. It helps us to see, it helps give plants energy to grow, and it plays an important role in our everyday lives. Let's listen to what Jesus said in John 3:19 of the New King James Version. And this is the condemnation, that the light has come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. Question: what are some ways light is observed? Answer: some ways light is observed are reflection, refraction, spectrum, wave, and particle. Let me say it again, because a couple of those words are kind of similar to each other. What are some ways light is observed? Some ways light is observed are reflection, refraction, spectrum, wave, and particle. Did you know that keeping an outdoor light on overnight is one of the easiest, safest, and least expensive ways to keep your home and your family safe? Criminals hate to get caught, so they usually hide in the dark. I keep a light on outside my house. It was day 1 of Creation Week when God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Since then, we've learned much scientifically about light. James Clerk Maxwell, in the 1800s, even made math equations that could describe how light travels. And he even predicted how fast it travels, its speed. And he got very close to the correct value. Amazing. One interesting behavior of light is that it can reflect or bounce off of surfaces. For example, that is why being under a cloud cools you off on a hot sunny day, because the top of the cloud reflects the hot sunlight back up and out into outer space. Also, reflection is why you can see yourself in a mirror. The light hits your face, reflects off of the mirror, and comes back to your eyes. You experiment with reflection at home with a flashlight and a small mirror. Go ahead. Point the flashlight at the mirror from a different angle and noticed how the beam bounces in a new direction. Reflection also helps animals like cats and deer see at nighttime because of special layers in their eyes that are designed to reflect light. A very bright scientist used reflection to estimate how fast light travels. Hippolyte Fizeau from France used a clever setup with a beam of light, a rotating toothed wheel, and a mirror to estimate the speed of light. He shined a light through the spaces between the teeth of the spinning wheel. The light traveled to a faraway mirror, and then it reflected back. When the wheel spun at just the right speed, the returning light would hit a tooth instead of a gap and be blocked, and it wouldn't be seen. By measuring how fast the wheel had to spin for the light to disappear, and by knowing the distance that the light had traveled, Fizeau could estimate how fast the light was moving. His experiment was the first to measure the speed of light on Earth using reflection and timing, and he got a surprisingly accurate answer. Light can also refract. R-E-F-R-A-C-T, refract, which means it bends when it passes from one material into another material. A fun way to see this is by placing a pencil in a glass of water. When you look at it from the side, the pencil looks like it's broken or bent. That's because light changes its speed and its direction as it moves from air into water. And light changes its speed and direction again as it moves from water to air. It also changes its speed and direction when it goes from the water to the glass, and from the glass to the air, and from the air to the glass, and from the glass to the water. Changing speeds, changing directions, refracting. R-E-F-R-A-C-T, refract. Lenses in glasses and cameras use this bending to help people see clearly or to take pictures well. Christian Huygens believed light traveled as waves like ripples on water, and he used this idea to explain how light refracts, how it bends. Did you know that light isn't just white or clear? Light is actually made up of many colors mixed together. Some colors are better at photosynthesizing. Some are better at heating things. Some colors of light are more soothing. Some help us to see better through fog. And some colors of light even kill germs well. Isaac Newton discovered that white light is made of many colors by shining the light through a prism, the triangular piece of glass. The many colors that light is made of is called a spectrum of the light. You can see it in a rainbow or by using a glass prism. A fun way to see this is to hold a CD or a DVD under the sunlight, kind of like the rainbow colors you see when a drop of oil or gasoline floats on top of a water puddle. You'll see different colors reflecting off of its surface. That's because the light is being split into its different colors, just like when sunlight passes through raindrops to make a rainbow. And who doesn't love a rainbow? A reminder that God will never again destroy the whole earth with a flood. Light can also act as a wave, which means it moves in ripples, like when you drop a rock into water. This wave-like behavior helps explain how light can carry energy across space. You can see the evidence of light waves by shining a flashlight through a piece of thin fabric or a small slit and watching the patterns that appear on the wall. These patterns show that light waves spread out and interfere with each other like waves in a water. Thomas Young did the famous double slit experiment that showed light makes patterns like waves, helping prove that light can act like a wave. Did you know that light can also act like a particle? Isaac Newton thought that light travels as tiny little particles. Albert Einstein agreed and predicted the photoelectric effect in 1905. where energetic light particles called photons can knock electrons out of metal. This is how solar panels work. Solar panels catch the photons from the sunlight and use that energy to push electrons of electricity. You can try a simple version of this with a solar-powered calculator. Take it outside, but then see how it stops working in the shade, but turns on again in the sunlight. It won't work if you cover it with your hand. That's light energy in action. Arthur Compton later showed us that light can behave like a particle by proving that photons can also bounce off of electrons, like particles. In science and in Scripture, light is powerful and meaningful. It helps us see, it carries energy, and it reminds us of God's wisdom and His glory. Matthew 17, 1 through 2 says, Jesus took Peter, James, and John his brother, and led them up on a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Whether it's reflecting off of a mirror, bending through water, showing its rainbow colors, or powering solar panels, light is truly a gift from God. Sometimes the energy of sunlight focuses by a magnifying glass can even start a fire. When we study light, we learn more about the amazing world God made, and we also understand more about His light in our lives. Question: what are some ways light is observed? Answer: some ways light is observed are like a mirror, reflection, like a rainbow, spectrum, like a photon, particle, like a pencil in a glass of water, refraction, like a ripple, wave. Let's listen again to what Jesus said in John 3:19 of the New King James Version. And this is the condemnation, that the light has come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than the light, because their deeds were evil. Thank you for listening to the Bible Science for Kids podcast from a uniquely young earth, biblical creationist perspective. I hope to see you next time for Cycle 2, Lesson number 22, Light. Until next time, this is Randy Osborne reminding you to keep trusting and serving the Lord. Don't forget to tell a friend. Remember to share good things with your friends, those you love. Who's my student? You are.